Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera dan salam Sarawakku maju makmur. Anda sedang menonton Dialog TVS, pentas diskusi anda di mana kami bawakan kepada anda pemimpin dan juga pemain industri serta tokoh-tokoh terkemuka yang akan membincangkan mengenai isu-isu dan trend-trend terkini di wilayah ini. Bersama dengan saya, Razi Ahmad.
Dan saya, Syarif Mato. Dan hari ini, Razi, kita akan memberi fokus kepada masa depan digital Sarawak dan bagaimana pendigitalan boleh memperkasakan ekonomi kita sambil memastikan kita menuju ke arah masa depan yang lestari ataupun seperti yang kita faham, circular economy, ya Razi.
Betul, Cheryl. Dan kita ada satu entiti di Sarawak ini yang sedang berusaha untuk memacu transformasi Sarawak menjadi sebuah kuasa ekonomi digital yang maju dan juga mampan, bukan sahaja di Malaysia tetapi di Asia Tenggara. Dan sudah tentu ianya adalah Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation Berhad atau SDEC. Dan untuk mengupas secara lebih teliti mengenai peranan dan juga inisiatif yang dijalankan oleh SDEC ke arah matlamat itu, Cheryl, bersama dengan kita di studio adalah Encik Sudanoto Osman, CEO Sarawak Digital Economy Corporation SDEC, dan juga Dr. Khairul Hafiz Syarkawi, Head of Research di SDEC. Terima kasih Encik Sudanoto dan juga Dr. Khairul kerana sudi meluangkan masa bersama kami di TVS hari ini.
Thank you very much.
Baik, SDEC memainkan peranan penting dalam mentransformasikan ekonomi Sarawak melalui pendigitalan. Dan sebelum kita bermula, mungkin kita boleh mulakan perbincangan kita dengan memahami apa itu SDEC sebenarnya. Jadi kalau boleh, Encik Sudanoto, bolehkah Encik berikan sedikit overall picture mengenai SDEC dan misinya? How does SDEC contribute to Sarawak's digital economy?
Okay, I think in a nutshell, SDEC is one of the digital agencies that is actually trying to develop Sarawak through digital economy. I think if we have about 4 agencies that play in the role for digital economy. One basically express the regulatory, SMA is Sarawak Multimedia Authority. Dan kalau dari segi pendigitalan government, I think that is where science will play the role. And then of course private sectors, that's where SDEC come in play. And then last but not least, Santex come in play with the Digital Academy when it comes to developing the talent development for digital economy. So these are the 4 agencies and playing the role. But of course, when we talk about SDEC itself, our focus is so much on the private sectors. So based on these private sectors, what are the things that we are doing? Apart from working with the private sector's economy, improving the private sector's economy, the other area that we are looking at is basically the what we call it the improving the infrastructure of the telecommunications and connectivity within Sarawak itself as well. So these are the 2 things that SDEC is focusing on. SDEC can be summarized into 2, as simple as ABC, I would say. Number 1 is basically accelerating the what we call the economy. So I think this is one of the key areas. So basically, when you talk about accelerating the economy, basically private sector plays a very, very important role when it comes to achieving the GDP of the states, right? So basically, they are the major contributor. At least more than 70% is actually contributed by the private sector themselves. So the key in doubling up our GDP, it has to be played by the private sector. That's why there's a lot of emphasis on private sector's economy itself. So that is one reason why SDEC's role in how do we actually getting this private sector to be digitalized. That's one key area. Not only become the users, but they're also the solution providers themselves. So these are areas that we focus on a lot. And of course, apart from that as well, SDEC, the B sides of things, which is bridging the digital gap. So these are the 2 things. I mean, the second thing that SDEC is focusing on. When we talk about bridging the digital gap, is basically 1, definitely the connectivity. Because as you know, in the urban areas, you're well connected. I mean, when we are outside and even when we are in the home. But when we talk about the rural people, there's a lot to be desired when it comes to connectivity. So these are the things that SDEC has been focusing on together, working together with the likes of MCMC, that is Multimedia Ministry, MCMC in developing the what they call improving the internet coverage over Sarawak. And then the second thing is also knowledge gap, right? Knowledge gap produce younger generation all the way up to the senior citizens themselves, right? As we improve the coverage in the rural areas, the thing that we need to don't forget is basically as much as we are bringing good things to the rural people in terms of getting them to be into e-learnings, into e-commerce, right, and many more. The thing is that we also introduce a lot of other things like scams, right? Then people are easily to be scammed, right? So the idea is actually how do we actually avoid these kind of cybersecurity issues, especially for people that has never been faced by this problem before. Now, when we have connectivity, of course, they are also going to be exposed. So there must be a balance of how we manage both. One, on the use case of it, then basically use case and adoption. Then basically the second one is how do we make sure that they are aware about what's the underlying issues when it comes to connectivities as well. So last but not least is the C. So C is basically catalyzing the innovation ecosystem. So analyzing ecosystem, this is where people, my colleague here from Dr. Hafiz play also a major important role with other partners, other colleagues as well, in trying to catalyze innovation. Because digitalization and innovation has to come hand in hand. You cannot just avoid, we want to digitalize, but at the end of the day, we forget about trying to be innovate. Because when you talk about startups, right, startups normally are born to solve problems, right, to solve problems and make it become business, right? So these are the things that why I think, like us, we focus a lot on building startups. So that's why some of the problems that they're working on is actually the general problem that faced by public, not only public, but by the organization or companies or MSMEs themselves. So these are the things that we are also looking at the moment, yeah. On top of that, we're trying to groom innovation from childhood. I mean, we focus a lot on innovations. We focus a lot on the next gen, the development as well, because we want to make sure the next gens are really into STEMs, right? Because that is the key areas, the science, technology, medical, English, and mathematics, right? So these are the three areas that we want them to be, engineering and mathematics, sorry. So these are the areas that we want them to really focus on as well. So that's the reason why, as far as SDEC is concerned, to summarize SDEC is ABC.
Right.
Oh, that's a lot to digest there, but basically when you boil it down to its ABC of SDEC, which is accelerating economic growth, bridging the digital gap, and catalyzing for innovation.
The innovation ecosystem,
Yes, okay. And
so
then,
it's very easy, right?
Correct. And you simplified, in the theme of SDEC in ABC. I mean, in shaping the future of Sarawak, which is actually, evidently we know that creating innovators as they are problem solvers, and they will create a new knowledge for Sarawakians, so talents as a whole. And maybe the next question we want to ask also for Dr. Hafiz. I mean, in bringing this ABC as part of SDEC's initiative, I mean, the culture of innovation and being the head of research, I mean, what is your role playing into SDEC and also in creating this new culture of innovators for the sphere of Sarawak?
Yeah, thank you very much, Cheryl. So when we talk about innovation, it always starts from the ideation of it as well. So the way SDEC is approaching this, because our goal is to build the innovation ecosystem. So it's more than the startup itself, but the whole environment of it, right? The support system are all being incorporated in the ecosystem itself. So in terms of starting with ideation, we have two different major pathway, if you will, for us to inculcate the innovation. One is the ideation coming from ideas from graduates or students that have brilliant ideas to solve a problem, and then they come together with their friends, 2 or 3 of them, and then try to build on top of that ideas, right? So they can go to our innovation hubs to go to our programs for ideation, or the startup ideation program, or Founders Forge for that matter, right? So in a way, they will be able to meet up their own peers and then try to grow the ideas, and then come up with a business entity or to run it as a solution to the industries, right? And that's where we have programs. For example, like I said, the ideation program, the hackathon, and also the Founders Forge to create the entity for their solution. And then we have DIVA, which stands for Digital Village Accelerator, to actually help them to scale up to a new height. So this is in order to help them to grow their businesses and also to refine their solution more and bring it to the market, right? And then there's another path where I'm directly responsible of, which is the research portion of it. So we work a lot on with universities. SDEC is partnering up with 6 Sarawak-based universities, and right now 3 external universities in order to bring a deeper technology out to the market. So it starts from the university research, where SDEC is supporting it directly. And we help universities to actually come up with a new digital technology in 9 technological pillars. Right? So this is core technology that the universities are doing. The universities are good at doing that, so we are supporting university to have the continuation or to enhance their research at that stage. But once they come up with the technology itself, what we're trying to do is we go beyond research in universities, where we try to accelerate and commercialize this research output, right? So at the end of the day, once they manage to commercialize their research output, there will be different level of startups, which we call deep tech startups. So these are startups that come up with the core technology, and they know they have spent 3 to 5 years in developing the technology in the universities, right? So now we are asking them, you have the products ready, now go to the market and see how you can solve the problem faced by industry using that piece of technology.
Okay, we're just intrigued to know, I mean, as we know that probably over the years, Sarawak has been having initiatives on building up startups. And I mean, you shared earlier that, SDEC has grown, I think, over 100 startups. I mean, definitely it's an increasing trend. So what do you see over the years, being the person solely responsible to create this culture of innovation? What is the trend that we have currently up to date in Sarawak? How are startups doing in Sarawak, basically?
Well, this is also a tricky thing for to answer as well, because startup they are there to solve problems, but most of them also not able to expand beyond their current stage, right? Because of multiple problems as well. One is they can't expand on their ideas, or they can't refine their products, or they can't find a proper business model. Because one of the things that startup is doing is to disrupt the current technology or solutions, right, to solve the problem. So one of the things that they have to come up with is the business model. So a unique or not unique, a robust business model that can cater for the current situation, that is different from how the normal or traditional businesses, approaching their business model. So that being said, I think we are still trying to have more startups to come up from those 2 tracks. Either it's from the technology, the tech startups, from ideation, or we go for the university research path as well. So in terms of the trend, I hope that it's growing, which I think it is growing.
I think it's growing. At the moment, I think we are monitoring about 140 startups. I think within Sarawak itself. I think our startup, as you say, is it doesn't mean they have to be in Sarawak. As long as they are Sarawakian, we're monitoring them. Some of them are based in Kuala Lumpur as well. Right, so I think it doesn't matter where they reside. But as long as Sarawakian, this is something that we interest us, because for us, we always believe Sarawakian will come back and trying to develop our own country, right? I mean, our own place. So I think this is something that we are looking at as well. I think that's why I say it's one of the things that I think about business model is one of the things. I think it's matter of, but one of the what is most one of the key criteria for startup is the funding itself, right? I think how do we want to ensure that they cannot just be dependable on the state funding, for example, right? They must be also be able to pitch for what you call venture capital fundings or every other funds that is available out there, so that they can grow their business. Because once they have their robust idea, they have the technology, they still need the funds to actually expand. So these are the critical areas. That's why as SDEC, we not only just focus on education or building up startup, but we also focus on investors as well, trying to work together with the investors, with well-known VCs as well, and then make sure that our startups have an opportunity to be working together with these VC, and hopefully be picked up by them. I think few of our DIVA alumni are now being funded by some of these VCs, yeah, and we are happy about it because some of them are also involved in the newer economy, like the circular economy, the green economy, and stuff. So we can see a lot of startups now are moving towards that kind of, producing solution for the newer economies, right? Which is actually a technology-based economy itself. Yeah. So these are something that the trend that we are seeing at the moment. Initially, when we started with our DIVA program, we are very difficult to get startups. But now, I think applicants has increased by 4 every year. So I think from this, I think we can see that there's a lot of people who wants to be a startup.
Quickly, before we get to our commercial break, would you like to share any specific success stories from these startups that you have helped facilitate to flourish?
Okay, there are a few startups that you're working that we see. Okay, I think some of those alumni that we have been working in, like Sinisana, for example, they're big into blockchain, right? So where now we can basically even if you look at Sarabif nowadays, you can look at the QR code.
Yes.
If you can. If you do the QR reading, basically you can know where the meat originated from and blah 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 and all the other things that is the information about the meat itself, right? So I think apart from that as well, they are now working together with I think Origo, where they're making from what they call reused pallets, right? I mean about pallets, but it's actually organic pallets, which is meant for transportation, right? The pallets.
Yeah.
So now, what they do is that using that blockchain technology, now they'll be able to track that pallets, how much actually has been reused. So based on this reuse, now they get points for keep on reusing the pallets. You know what I mean? So these are the things that is actually one of the technologies that actually be deployed now by one of our startups. Some of our startups are involving in games, where they are providing a platform where it's a sharing of games, because not everybody are capable to buy games, right? I mean, it's quite expensive in one sense, right? But now you can actually involve in playing games as cheap as RM1 or RM2. These are the things that some of the startups are doing. Yeah, and some of the startups are working on pharmacies. How to create? You go to over the counter. They basically store tracking of what you're buying and all that. Of course, if you are members, they're basically these are the normal medication you buy. But I think the solution that some of our startups are doing is basically how to create that bonding between the customers and the pharmacists themselves. To create that solutions as well. So these are some of the things that is actually being built by our startup ecosystem. There are many more, which I cannot share with you, even like kitchen robots and all these things. So these are some of the things that come up with our startup. Kitchen robot where, really good for people that use, that want to produce food in a big quantity, right? So they can have very constant taste as well. So that's why the kitchen robots actually produce. And these startups come from Bintulu themselves. Right. Yeah, so I think there are so many startups that we can, and interesting solutions that you can see along the way.
Wow, it's amazing. And of course, a success story. Well, we'll delve into more after this, and we'll be back after the commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Yeah. We'll see you after this.
In the previous segment, we talked about what SDEC is in a nutshell, and also the role that SDEC plays in facilitating innovation from startups, from research all the way to the market. But now we'd like to touch on the Sarawak Digital Economy Blueprint 2030 and the implementation of its Phase 2. Last year, the Sarawak Premier, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, launched the second Sarawak Digital Economy Blueprint 2030, which will set out how the state will secure its future as a leading digital economy and society by 2030. According to Abang Johari, this comprehensive plan builds upon the existing Sarawak Digital Economy Strategy 2018 to 2022 and serves as the cornerstone of the Sarawak Post-COVID-19 Development Strategy 2030 or PCDS 2030. Now, this question is for J. Sudanoto. Can you explain in a nutshell again how Sarawak Digital Economy Blueprint 2030 is and how it is in line with the PCDS 2030?
Okay. The Sarawak Digital Economy in short is SDE the SDE 2030, right? I think the SDE 2030 is actually part of PCDS 2030, right? So, because PCDS 2030 is the big agenda where we actually looking at a few things that we want to do, right? Basically, improving our GDP, to 282 billion in terms of improving our household income, among others, right? And through environmental sustainability, So I think these are the key focus. And how do we do it? Through digitalize. Some of it is basically the foundation of it is basically through digitalization. So that's where the SDE 2030 come to picture in ensuring that in order for us to achieve some of these key indicators, what digitalization will need to be done, what kind of digitalization that need to be executed to ensure that we'll be able to achieve these targets, right? Because by 2030, in SDE 2030, the target is to ensure that 25% of GDP of Sarawak then will be contributed through digitalization. That's the key areas, right? I mean, a quarter of it, right? So that's the key areas, one of the key things that we wanted to do. Apart from that, we have other indicators like we need to produce about 500 startups, for example, and then we need to ensure that the SMEs are digitalized. I think we're talking about 70 to 80% of the SMEs must be digitalized for that matter. So these are some of the key indicators, right, that we need to achieve by all the agencies that is related to digital and also the supporting agencies themselves. So in terms of connectivity itself, of course, we need to achieve almost 100%. I think we can basically we're talking about at least 90% of the Sarawak will be covered by then by 2030, and we can basically rest assured that we can be able to achieve about 94.5% of Sarawak will be covered by then by 2025. But then again, talking about almost 100% will be almost because we don't believe that we can cover every nooks and corners of Sarawak. But we believe that at least more than 99% probably will be able to be covered using different type of technology. For the initial 94%, of course, Jendela project and of course the SMART project, the Sarawak the Sarawak government intervention program of SMART will play a very critical role in ensuring that we'll be able to achieve 94.6% of our coverage by 2025. And as to date, for SMART, I think we have already built more than half of it. It's already up and running with about 364 sites as of has already been put on air, and we are confident enough that we'll be able to deliver at least 500 by end of the year. For SMART program itself. So I think using the smart towers, we have actually deployed what we call the mobile operator core network, meaning to say that by using this technology, all the operators, regardless who you are, which SIM cards you are using, whether you are Maxis, Celcom, DG, U-Mobile, YTL, or even TM Mobile, you'll be able to use the service within the smart towers coverage. So this is the first in the world where we have actually implemented the 6-way MOCN. And we are very proud that we can achieve these milestones. And the second thing as well, we also introduced our own what we call the mobile Sarawak rural broadband network. And to date, we have about 21,000 homes connected using mobile connected, and we have actually starting commercialize the network 7 of 7 last 2 months. 7 of 7 last 2 months, and we keep on having about 1,000 to 1,500 new subscribers on a monthly basis. So I think it's because MySabian is unique in our offering. We are not trying to compete with the mobile player to a certain extent. Our idea is actually to complement them in the sense that, because in the urban areas, right, most of our internet, when you go out, you have your mobile network. But when you go home, you have TM fiber network or Maxis, Celcom fiber network, whatever it is, right? But in the rural areas, unfortunately, right, people use mobile as the biggest mean of internet. They don't have home internet per se. That's why MySabian become what you call solutions where it actually solves the home internet problem, right? So that that's why we don't want the internet will go off. Will go off when once the parents are out of to work, Internet follow the head of the household. That's a problem that we have in the rural areas. So when bapa pergi kerja, internet tak ada kat rumah. Internet pun hilang. So the idea is actually, my survey is to ensure that internet is always available at home, right? So that anak-anak pun boleh buat e-learning, pembelajaran kan. Then of course, suri rumah tangga can move into e-commerce. We never know what skill sets they have, right?
Yeah. Correct.
So these are the things that they can actually build, and what are skill sets they can build, so that they can also contribute to the household incomes of to the family itself. So I think these are the things that SDE are looking at. End of the day, whatever we do, end of the day, it must contribute to the well-being of our citizens, right? No point of doing something when it's not going to contribute to the well-being of the citizens itself, right? It has to trickle down to that level. Yeah.
Correct. And you mentioned earlier, of course, you gave a very good example that, with that being said, no Sarawakians should be left behind, and also we are able to catch up. To be able to catch up with the wave of digitalization. And clearly Sarawak is embarking the digital economy since 2018 as well, and with a clear direction to spearhead Sarawak's economy to thrive to being a high income and developed state, by 2030. With all these initiatives, how, maybe from now, we see in the second phase, how is SDEC setting the tone again? With this being said also, and also to center this, to push forward Sarawak to be on the global trend more. Yes.
I think there's many things and many aspects that we did. Of course, number one, improving the connectivity, right, and covers as much as we can, right. And then, of course, we cannot depend on just towers and other things. We have to look into other technologies like the satellite technology. So connectivity is one, getting everybody connected, and that's where we talk about digital inclusivity. Then on top of that, what are the solutions that what are the things that ride on top of the network that we are providing now, so that you can create economic spillover, right, and then create new incomes to the people out there, especially in the rural places, and of course the urban themselves as well, right. So these are the things that we are looking at as well. In terms of the MSMEs, right, the push towards digitalization is also key, yeah. So to make sure that they're able to adopt digital solutions so that they can improve their efficiencies and then increase their productivity. Yeah, and then also increase their market access. So meaning to say, because digital is not just purely, when you are moving into digital, you're not just talking about Sarawak market, right? You're talking about beyond that, beyond the Sarawak shores. That's the reason why even our e-commerce platform, when we work with the likes of TikTok, with the likes of Lazada or Shopee and all the famous, the e-commerce platform, we are trying to see, not just talking about Malaysian market. We are now talking beyond Malaysian market. What about selling it to Singapore?
Yes.
What about selling it to Taiwan and all these places, right? So that our product does not for Malaysian market, because then your market access is getting bigger and bigger. So this is how we are pushing now, and then also for startup as well. We want to make it more interesting now, and the game is not just Sarawak market, right? Because for me, 2.8 million population, or almost 3 million population, is a still relatively small market for digital. When we talk about digital, we are talking about worldwide market, regional market. So these are the things that we want our startup to play, not just become Jago Kampung, but to be a national, international player themselves, right? And of course, that's where SDEC come into picture. How do we want to make sure that they can access to that market? Because sometimes you have language barrier, right? So that's why we always encourage startups to form collaboration with startups in that country, so that their solution can work together with the startup in that sort of countries, and then they come up with a new solution that provide services to the companies in that particular country. So these are things that we are working closely with even startups, not only startups, spin-off from universities themselves as well.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, startups is very important, but research and innovation is also crucial and necessary to keep this economy digital going for Sarawak. This question I'd like to pose to Dr. Khairul. SDEC has a lot of educational and product development initiatives, such as the Grant Penyelidikan Ekonomi Digital Sarawak and also Open Lab. How does this program promote innovation and the creation of jobs in Sarawak?
Yeah. So basically, the idea for us, for SDEC, to grow the innovation ecosystem is to have more innovation coming in from the general public and also the university side, right? So from university side, the university side, as I mentioned, we're supporting the research done by universities, but at the same time to commercialize it and to spin them off as a deep tech startup, right? So in terms of what SDEC Open Lab is doing, what our digital economy testbed is doing, is to help to validate this technology. Because remember, I said the R&D side is looking at the deeper technology, right, to be developed in Sarawak. So these are the technology that has to be validated before being, brought into the market as well. So what Open Lab assists for the R&D side is that to provide them access to tools for them to create higher quality products or higher quality technology, right? And then from there, they can use our digital economy testbed, which is similar to Sandbox, right? So it's a place where they can deploy their technology and see how it works, how it interacts in the real world. So in a way, it helps them to validate the piece of technology, and then they can go to the market and try to solve problems that the market is facing right now. So that is one of the ways to do it. And by spinning them off as a deep tech startup, surely they will need people to be employed, right? So similarly, not just from the research side, but from the tech startup side, from our innovation side, right? So we also aiming to create more job creator rather than job finder, right? So this startup definitely they need more people coming in, more technical people that's good in programming, data analytics, AI now, right? So I think these are the people that can create more jobs in Sarawak, and in a way we grow the ecosystem itself, because more and more business entity coming up as a technology startup, more and more talent will be pulled to Sarawak. So that hopefully in the future will solve some part of our brain drain problem, right? Because we don't have much job opportunity here, but that's what we're trying to create. So in terms of the research side, once they're being spun off into a deep tech startup, they will also need people to come in and to help them to grow their business, grow their products, and so on. So I think that's one of the things that in terms of education or job creation that we are looking at. But I would like also to touch on what Mr. Sudanoto said, that even engaging with the housewife to be present in e-commerce. Right? One of the education that we are giving is how to run a proper business. So cottage industry people, they don't normally keep ledger or account properly, so they don't know how well their business is doing, right? So one of the things that our program comes in is to help them to have all this documentation being done using digital tools, right? For example, Google Sheet or Google Documents and so on, right? So it's a freely available tool, but can help them to digitalize themselves, as simple as using those free tools, and then using that to grow their own business. So that also a part of education that SDEC is playing a role in terms of for the ecosystem.
That's why I said on top of it, actually the e-commerce itself. I think sometimes we focus so much on the platform itself, but we forget about how do you actually the customer can send in the product to the consumer. So I mean, right? So this is also another area. That's why now we are also working with the platform providers, how they actually increase their drop-off points. So this is also one of the things that we're looking at, so that we can actually have more drop-off or ataupun what we call that kedai where they can actually collect and send the product, right? In the secondary towns now, not just focusing on Kuching, Sibu, Miri Bintulu, but what they call this can actually be expanded into the secondary towns, so that the more reach to all the sellers in these secondary towns, and also the neighboring towns to the secondary town itself. So these are the things that SDEC is also working with the platform providers in doing so. So I think there's a lot of other things that we are working as well. And that's why I say one of the critical issues is actually also to create awareness to the senior citizens or to the citizens who are using the internet as well, right? Because this is also very important, as much as we want them to be on board, but make sure that they are also also moving in, ensure that they are protecting their data, their money well, so that they don't be scammed and all these things, right? I think a lot of times when we deploy our MySRBN, you only can subscribe online. That's the key. We don't have coupons or this kind of model and everything. And why we are doing that is actually we want to get people to be on board of digitalization. And the problem is that when we start doing that, you don't be surprised that a lot of people in the rural places doesn't even have an account. How do you want to go into digitalization when you don't have a bank account, right? So there's another area that now SDEC realized that this is something that we need to push together with the bankers. I mean, with the with the players, right? And even now we are talking to Bank Negara on how to actually get things to move on the ground as well. On ensuring that people are able to do cashless transaction even in the remotest place in Sarawak. So these are the things that we are working on as well.
So it's basically a multifaceted problem for SDEC to
correct,
tackle, especially
that's
in the rural
to
areas.
get people to be on board, they have to have their account in the first place, right? Then only they can start to move into e-commerce. Then how do people want to pay you?
Well, that's a bit,
So sometimes we think that the problem is it's a simple problem, but it's a persistent problem in some of the places.
Poses a very critical issue and undermines the entire thing and the
Correct,
basic infrastructure of digitalization. Well, Dialog TVS will be back after a short break. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back again on Dialog TVS, along with us and also SDEC, who is still here with us. Thank you for still being around here to share on the digital economy and the sphere that we have in Sarawak as well. I mean, okay, all right. So the next question will be Sarawak's digital economy, as we know, is on the third wave of the region's economy progression up to date. With the first being oil and gas and the transition that we see, the second being renewable energy. And now in the next segment, we're going to touch on how Sarawak is setting to incorporate maybe ideas such as smart farming in new township developments and to boost its food production. As we know, also in production and R&D is also crucial for the state's economy. And maybe we can know what is SDEC's role in creating this sustainability to spearhead it in a new economy.
You want to answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead first. I'll chip in.
Okay.
Can
When you talk
both.
about, of course, when you talk about now, from our conventional resource-based economy, now we are trying to move into more sustainable, environmental sustainable, technology-based economy, right? I think this is the key crucial steps that everybody is taking in every part of the world, because as you know, climate become more erratic, and then you can't predict today is raining or not raining anymore. It's no longer the normal thing that we have seen for the past few years. I think they have now start seeing that climate change is a real thing, and everybody has to do their part to ensure that we are talking about, make sure that the world still exists for our future generations, right? So this is very critical to us. So I think digitalization play a very important role in this new base, sustainable based technology, right? Economy, like circular economy or green economy for that matter. And that's why for us, when it comes to some of the initiatives we are doing, for example, our smart farming, right, where we use less water, right, and how much more precision, ensure that we don't spoil the recycle the nutrients that are coming from the fertigation that we are doing. And for example, these are the things that circulating it further, so that we can improve the cost of doing operations. That's one thing, and of course, and actually maximize the nutrients that it's actually giving to the plants itself. So these are some of the things that we're working on at the moment, right? And of course, not every farmers will adopt the highest technology, in terms of farming, right? Maybe we start with low tech, then suddenly when they see that the yield has started to improve, then they have more capable in deploying mid-tech technology, then we move them to mid-tech, and then slowly into high-tech. Of course, high-tech means you are very big conglomerates kind of thing, right? Where you want to go into 100 acres of agriculture. So I think we will have different technology for different segments as well. And these are the key areas. That is one thing. We are talking about agriculture. There are many areas that we are working on as well in terms of aquaculture themselves, right? How do we want to ensure that the mortality rate of the fries improve, right? So that more yield that will come from the fish itself. And then how do we want to ensure that less food that's being given to the fish, by ensuring no wastage in terms of, because once there's when there's food are not fully consumed, right, it will create another problem where it can create disease to the fish and so forth. So technology is used to ensure that enough food for the fishes, and not over supplying them to them. That's one thing, and also to ensure that less human intervention. Like last time when you used to measure, right? Besar ikan tu, boleh lembak ke sugar bun tu. This kind of thing, right? So, but then again, you don't have to measure now by scoping, but you can measure them by using cameras now, by using vision AI, for example. Then you can understand, the fish is now good enough to be harvested for this kind of segment. Because sometimes we also learn, when you do this kind of thing, right? We also learn that the consumer doesn't mean big is good. Because they say sometimes they just want to have it mid-size to be given to the consumer. Because it's too big, then become wastage as well. So that's the thing. So we learn along. We learn together with the farmers themselves. What are the things that work? What doesn't work? And what do actually the requirement in the market itself? Yeah. I think you want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Travis?
I agree on that as well. But, and also to go back on the smart farming thing, right now we are looking at smart farming in terms of growing the plant itself. Right? But of course, even using the digital technology, having a smart farming setup, we not do anything if the farmers themselves doesn't understand how to interact with the technology. Right? So that is what we're trying to build. Right, the awareness that we're trying to create amongst new or modern farmers. Right, so piece of technology can only work with interaction of human being as well. Right, so in terms of having a disciplined culture for smart farming, you ensure your productivity will go up. Right, so it's not just depending on that piece of technology. Right, so. Going to circular economy, right now we are looking at growing the plant, but moving forward we also see how we can actually process those plants into other products, right? So this will ensure that even the cocoa peat that they are using in the smart farming facilities can be reused for other things, right? For compost, for example, or for the breed of black soldier flies, those kind of things that we can reuse back and put it back to the system. And all of these are enabled by some kind of technology, right? So the most common one is IoT. So all of these machineries that going to process all these materials coming from the smart farming itself should be fitted with IoT so that the productivity level or the efficiency of the processing plant itself will be increased, right? So in a way, we right now, yes, we start with the planting activities, but moving forward, we want to create the whole ecosystem for agriculture to ensure that circular economy is being taken into account and to keep the resources longer into the system and to create new products out of that, right? And I think only by growing that kind of economy, then we can ensure that circular economy will be, be able to be established properly, right? Yeah.
So basically, what we can glean from that is that for a circular economy to work, you don't just require the technology. You also need awareness. You also need the people, the grassroots, the farmers, and everybody to
Correct.
to be in on it.
And that's why I say if you go our smart farming test beds in Santubong, I mean you can go and have a visit. In actual fact, we are not only just deploying technology, and also we also focus on, as was mentioned by Hafiz, Dr. Hafiz. Basically, we are talking focus on disciplined farmers, right? Because we need these two to tango to make it happen, right? But apart from that, we also include the nature factor into it. You know, so that's where now we use stingless bee for pollination. So yeah, previously we have to like bang the wire to make sure that pollination start to gain. We cannot start to trigger the pollination to happen. Right now we use stingless bee and put it stingless bee at night when everybody go home. We put it outside. Then in the morning we put it back there so that they will help with the pollination itself. So I think these are the interesting thing that we are trying out and see whether using bees as pollination agent will improve the yield or not. So that's why we have that test bed as I mentioned earlier, right? Why do you have this test bed? What is it for? And kind of thing, right? So that we can test out many things. We can test out many varieties of products. Which is the best to be grown in these kind of places, for example. Yeah, what type of tomatoes that we grew? We have many types of tomato we grow over the site. Yeah, and chilies. Yeah, and we also do open farming using fertigation model. Yeah, so there's a lot of testing that's being done on our side.
Yes, definitely we are well aware. I mean, in the circular economy, it's already gaining traction globally. And I think so far up to date, the generations and Sarawakians, they with all these initiatives coming in, they are well aware that it has to go down back to the basic. And we know with digital economy being, on a progression of economy and renewable energy and hydrogen being next, I mean, it all comes down to resources and sustainability. Then, I mean, with that having said, in having Sarawak setting a tone to go with PCDS 2030 in line with the UN SDGs. I mean, apart from that, SDEC, what other collaborations that SDEC has been having also up to date to make this happen, perhaps with government agencies or other collaborators that you can maybe mention?
I think there are a few things that's going on at the moment. I think we're also looking at the development of what we call the green technology park. I mean, maximizing solar as a source of energy to what we call to fuel the technology park itself. Of course, the technology park itself, maybe we're talking about private sectors, develop data centers, and also we don't want just data centers, because data centers, if they just want to use the energy but not giving any other jobs, that's not something that we are also looking at. But we're also looking at spin-off from these data centers itself. Like, say, for example, companies that actually use this data that is being stored in these data centers and form a company that can do a lot of data analytics and use AI to develop other products on top by you capitalizing on these data centers, right? So these are the things that we are looking at. So that's why we also have this the cabinet has actually recently approved our the Sarawak residency digital pass, right? I mean SRDP we call it. So the idea is actually how we actually maximize on digital nomads, where we can actually open and digital nomads can actually, people from the likes of working in Google or working in other places, they can actually work in Sarawak and still working for this kind of big companies. But the good thing about it is also we're trying to ensure that by their presence in Sarawak itself, it's also going to create people surrounding them, right? Exposure on how actually people from these places work remotely, and then actually how they actually use the technology, the skill sets in digitalization, so that our people can learn from them as well. At the same time, boost the tourism, right? Tourism, because they will definitely be getting hotels, not only hotels, they have a long-term stay in apartments and so forth, and of course they will be like staying in this in part of Sarawak, right? So this is where we talk about digital nomads. But of course, of that we are looking beyond that. what they call the digital workers pass, because we want to make sure that companies can hire talents while waiting for to develop our own talent, but we're also trying to get talents as much as possible from outside, because sometimes we need this talent immediately. We cannot wait, right? We cannot wait for our universities to churn out this talent, so we need temporary, we can use talent from outside. Then, of course, we're talking about entrepreneur who wants to open up a company in Sarawak. I mean, we welcome any entrepreneur who wants to come up, and they can provide job opportunities also to Sarawakians, right? So this is another one areas that we are looking at. And last but not least, probably you just want to open a company, but you're still based in another part of the world, so that, it's a company registered in Sarawak, but they can be based in any part of the world. So I think this is something like the Estonia model, right? E-residency model, we call it. So these are the few things that SDEC is working on now to ensure that we have people and talents that can actually work on this new base economy, right? I mean, technology-based economy, like you are talking about, circular economy, the green economy, which includes hydrogen, and renewable energy and so forth.
I see. And also, yes, we are well aware that human capital undermines still the talent pool that we have. And I mean, interestingly, you touched on, to have all these Sarawakians, being away from home, they do need to return physically, but they can be anywhere. So this is actually one of the initiatives that I find SDEC is doing to, touch and to make sure that no one is left behind.
Maybe they already adopt different citizenship, but they still keep Sarawak.
This is a good invitation to come back.
Okay, Mr. Sudanoto and Dr. Khairul, we have unfortunately reached the end of our show. We wish we have more time, but that's all the time we have for now. Maybe second episode?
Yeah, who knows?
Probably,
Second part of it, right?
Second part, yeah. But after all that, thank you so much to the both of you for sharing your very invaluable insights on the digital economy of Sarawak and also its journey towards a sustainable future through digitalization. It's clear that SDEC plays a very important role in shaping the future of Sarawak. And with that, I would like to thank you both once again for Encik Sudanoto Osman, the CEO of SDEC, and also Dr. Khairul Hafiz Sharkawi, the Head of Research at SDEC. Thank you so much for having your time.
Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in IDEX.
Yes, the upcoming IDEX, and to hear what's next.
Because it's also related with AI, and it's also talking about the sustainable and circular economy itself. That's one of the things that we're doing now.
Well, we're pretty sure that Sarawakians and also those globally are waiting to have the return of IDEX 2024 upcoming in next month. All right, and of course, both Radzi and I will definitely be excited for that. And with that, that ends the discussion of circular economy and also the digital economy transformation by us, SDEC. And with that, I'm Shal Chameto.
And I'm Razia Ahmad. We'll see you next time on Dialog TVS.